Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, good evening to all of you here in the room, in the conference hall, and many of you also joining and attending this conference virtually online. Today, in this segment, we are very excited to actually bring to you the Changi Airport Group showcase. We've had the honor and the privilege of Mr. Tavan Choi, the CFO of the Changi Airport Group, join us in this endeavor. We will kickstart the session with a segment where we'll have Tavan make a presentation, and then thereafter, that presentation will set a context for Tavan and I to have a conversation. So without further ado, over to you, Tavan.
Thank you, Venki. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, UOB, as well, for inviting me to give a chance to share what is it that clicks behind Changi Airport, and share also with the audience how we can best support you and your business in the region. So it starts with, we are fortunate to be, I think, in the best region in the world right now. I think, and as Enrico shared with you, this is the first quarter of the Asian century. We are right at the heart of ASEAN, and we are the largest aviation market and growing the fastest.
Indeed.
And one of the things we do our very best is to make sure we keep pace with the competition, we keep pace with the growth in demand, and continue expanding the airport. And as Enrico said, we are an archipelagic region. Everything is connected by water. So you have to fly if you want to go by, to connect to each country. But if you look at this chart, these are the rankings of the top 10 international flights across the world. And we're very proud that ASEAN, Singapore, has 3 of them, connecting Singapore to Jakarta, Kuala Lumpur, and Bangkok. And it is my dream, actually, working with everyone here over the next 10, 20 years, let's get all 10 ASEAN countries onto this map, right? I think there are 10 ASEAN countries, we should be able to get number 1 to 10, all right? As a sign of how connected ASEAN will be in the future. Now, connectivity is not the only thing that we do. Also, quite important, we connect people and businesses for tourism, and that brings in a lot of traffic for our hospitality businesses. That also enables Singaporeans and Singapore residents to go out and enjoy themselves over the long weekends for holiday travel towards the end of the year. And also for GDP contribution. We have a lot of studies showing that the airport enables something like 5% of the GDP contribution to Singapore, not just from the direct aviation traffic, but as well as from the businesses, cargo flows that are enabled by a world-class airport. And not forgetting the 60,000 people working at the airport. We're providing good jobs for them, enabling our country to prosper. Now, if there's nothing that you remember from this presentation, other than this slide, that will be successful already. Because on this slide, I'm sharing with you actually the decades of the formula behind Changi Airport's vision, shall I say. And it starts at the top left-hand corner. We believe, first and foremost, we must have sufficient capacity. Sufficient capacity to keep up with the needs of our businesses, with the needs of our customers, making sure that we steadily expand the airport so that we're never overcrowded, we're never short of availability of flights for our passengers and businesses. And once we have that capacity, once it's not overcrowded, we can build on top of that a great experience for everyone. Every time you fly, we want to make it perfect for you. I think one of the older taglines for the airport is actually a first-class experience on the ground. So no matter what class of travel you are on, we aim to give you a first-class experience on the ground. But there's a third part that's unbeknownst to most people. We're actually a business. Even when we used to be a statutory board under the government, everything in Changi Airport you see is paid for by itself. Right? We do not take government subsidies. And so the bottom part is actually quite important because we have happy travelers, because we have capacity, we have happy travelers, they shop and they spend, we can expand connectivity to more businesses and cargo flows, we get the money we need to reinvest and put that all back into even more capacity. And so when we got it right, this virtuous circle enables us to keep growing and growing while providing a great experience for all our passengers and a great chance for our businesses across the region to connect with Singapore. So this is really the most important part, and I hope to show you over the rest of the conversation today how this plays out.
Right.
And so the first part, back to the top left quadrant, is capacity. If you see the top line, that represents the capacity of the airport. And you notice we try always to keep it just slightly ahead of the traffic, which are represented by the bars. We don't hope to have too much of a gap, otherwise we'll be wasting the capacity, but we always want to stay ahead. And I think for the many businesses here in the audience, both in Singapore and across the region, I hope this chart reassures you that we will always have the capacity for you and your business to grow in Singapore, to grow with Singapore. The other thing many people don't quite remember is that we're actually 44 years old. So not quite as distinguished as you'll be. Congratulations once again on your 90th birthday. But we're no spring chickens either. We are also 44 years old. Changi Airport started in 1981. This is our first terminal. It was operational in 1981, but we spent a lot of time making sure it doesn't feel like 1981. So we've spent a lot of money over the years, and you can see the various years we have done improvement works. Sometimes it's a small part, sometimes it's a much larger renovation of the entire terminal, but we are steadily always reinvesting in the quality of our product so that it keeps pace with the needs of our passengers and businesses.
Right.
And we never stay still, not even during a pandemic. So this was a picture of what used to be in Terminal 1, I think in around 2015 to 2018. This was what we call the Changi Social Tree. It was made up of a lot of LG display panels that we put together. And the commitment was that if you take a selfie there, if you take a picture there, we will keep that memory for you for 100 years. I think it's still kept in the data center somewhere. But we've decided to also change that to something else, which is with travel coming back, a lot of people now desire luxury brands, and we worked with 3 of them, Louis Vuitton, Dior, and Tiffany, to create this trio of luxury boutiques right at the heart of Terminal 1 for everyone to experience. And the amazing thing was, and this was testimony, I think, to the confidence of that companies have in Singapore and our traffic, actually all these 3 boutiques were conceived of, constructed, and completed during the pandemic. So by the time we reopened our borders to the world in 2022, 2023, these boutiques were ready to serve the world. And I think this again speaks to the steadfastness of our expansion, of our constant rejuvenation, and as well as the trust placed in us by others. Another important thing, everyone knows Jewel now, but actually just 11 short years ago, we did have a part of the airport that looked like 1981, which was this car park we have in front of Terminal 1. As recent as 2014, it was still a very beautiful open-air car park with many mature rain trees that we have actually kept. We transplanted them because they are a national treasure. You can't just chop these trees down. But that space was a valuable space in front of the terminal that we thought could better serve the needs of our passengers. So on top of that, we've built Jewel, which is now world famous. Everyone has to come here to take a picture of that. And it's something so beautiful, we couldn't have imagined that was possible. But we believed in the importance of constantly reinventing ourselves, even of something that's 44 years old. Now, of course, the first part of what I've said is what we have been trying to do, our philosophy and how we build the airport and keep it fresh, but we couldn't have done it without partners. Partners like yourselves in the audience, partners like obviously the best airline in the world, right? It's hard to not do well, or in fact, it's a hard act to follow when you have the best airline in your airport doing its best also to fly the Singapore flag high. But we've been happy and really proud to work with SIA Group. Also, we're amazingly proud of working with our government, which is one of the most progressive in the world, to bring the efficient airport that you see in terms of air traffic capabilities, as well as immigration. And at this point, I'm going to use a tired joke that people have kept hearing from me for the last, several months. But our immigration authority, you see that on the right-hand side, have done such a wonderful job with passport control that it's faster for me to get back into the country than it is for me to enter my corporate office because our facial systems are just not as good. I don't know why. And I'll keep repeating this joke until my HR hears it and upgrades our office system. But here it is, an amazing, amazing partnership between us and the national authority. Not forgetting our many ground handlers, SATs and DINATA, who actually are the people behind many of the services you see at the airport, besides us. And sometimes not so obvious to everyone, the engineering partners that go on behind the scenes, building the airport, keeping it fresh, keeping it well oiled, maintained. Here you see runway resurfacing works that we're trying to do at night, so that it's ready again the next morning for flight operations. Just so many partners that help us deliver the airport we have. And truly, it is a place where we couldn't have done it without these great partners.
Indeed.
Not forgetting also shopping operations. And here, actually, we've been working for many years with Sheila and Lotte, a different arm of the Lotte Group than Don's. But yes, they have been partners with us for a very long time. They saw through COVID with us, through thick and thin, and we're very proud to call them partners at the airport. And it's something that, because in honor of their partnership, we even adjusted some of the rental contracts we have with them post-COVID to reflect the harder realities. I think it will be no surprise for everyone to hear retail has suffered, in the post-COVID uncertainty, the slowdown in Chinese consumer spending, and recognizing the deep partnership we've had with them, we've adjusted even rental contracts to make it sustainable and so that we can grow together. Because we believe that we can't be successful at the expense of our partners. We can only succeed when our partners succeed themselves. And just as a sign of we take care of everyone, from the big shops, but even to small brands, homegrown brands who are growing out for the first time. So many did not know of Bacha until recently. But again, years ago, when we started working and engaging with Bacha, we thought, here's a chance to create something truly special. So not just an ordinary store, but we gave them a location. It used to be Zara. It used to be a 2-story boutique containing a lot of clothes. We dedicated the whole space to allow Bacha to create one of the world's most beautiful and signature coffee places. It's such a location that many people who are flying from different terminals actually take the SkyTrain just to come to the Terminal 3 location and take a picture of this particular Bacha store. Right? And we're very proud to have worked with them to deliver that and offer Bacha to the world. But it's not always just the sexy stuff you see. So that's something everyone knows about Changi Airport. But what is often not so known, we take care of everyone, all our partners, including our contractors, their subcontractors, and their workers. So during COVID, when there were a lot of concerns about the living conditions of our workers, we actually went ahead to build a 12,000-bed dormitory to the latest MOM standards at the time, to house all the workers working at Changi Airport. And in fact, because we also took a slowdown at the time, in the end, quite a lot of workers from outside the airport, from other companies working on other projects throughout the island, were actually living there with us in the dormitory. And we're very proud to have contributed our little bit to the welfare of the workers in Changi Airport. And then, of course, this is a banking conference.
Indeed.
We can't be remiss if we didn't talk about financing as well. And again, one of the things we care about is our contractors and their own prosperity. So it was quite clear to us that even as we spend billions and billions on the construction of Changi Airport, our partners, our contractors, our vendors will have financing needs of their own as well. Indeed. And this is something that we cared about, because if they don't have access to liquidity, they can't do a good project for us. So their success is in a way, again, tied to our success. So we're very happy that about 1.5 years ago, we started discussions with UOB to consider a new way to do supply chain financing, to make sure that our vendors get capital when they need. So for example, I think this is one of the industry's first. If you're a contractor with us, you can get financing right from the contract inception date. And why is this important? Many times before you can even start work or even get the first dollar of work done, you have to invest in mobilization equipment, you have to invest in raw materials, you have to get your workers in. We understand that there will be financing needs, so we worked with UOB and another bank, of course, but to create something that we think is a world's first. And we hope that this is something that will really empower our vendors to do a great job and assure them that when you do a project with us, you will be taken care of. So, looking ahead, what are we going to do? I think you've heard a lot about T5, but actually there's also T1 to 4, and we are spending $3 billion even in the next 10 years as we get T5 ready to make sure we can keep pace with growth, to make sure we can keep pace with the businesses here in this room now who are continuing to expand, looking for opportunities in ASEAN and beyond. So there will be lots of investments going on in the next 10 years. But of course, we're most excited with Terminal 5, which you can see right here. It's also a testimony, and I would like to pay homage to many of the generations before us who actually saw that one day Changi Airport will need to be this big. So this land that you see at the bottom of the picture, it was all there waiting for us. It's been there for the last 20, 30 years, reclaimed already, ready for when we were thinking of how to expand the airport, when we needed to expand the airport. And you can see the size is about the same as the current Changi Airport across terminals 1 to 4. So we're very excited to be building Terminal 5 and its expansion. And it's not just a passenger terminal. In the right-hand side of the picture, bottom right, you also see a lot of space for cargo handling to serve the businesses' needs. And in front of it, there's actually a very interesting space that in my other job, besides CFO, I'm trying to develop, which is a space to connect the businesses of ASEAN and our neighbors together in one place. So you can fly in, do your meetings, fly out again, and we believe that this will be something very important to connect the economies of ASEAN. So just to leave you with a few pretty pictures of what we hope to build, T5 will be one of the biggest terminals we've ever had, built to house SIA Group, which is actually, I think you all notice it, they've overgrown terminals 1, 2, 3. It's spread out over all 3 terminals now. We would love to give them a big single integrated terminal so they can house all their operations together along with other airlines. So that is the vision of what we're trying to build for T5. And yes, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tawan. That was quite impressive. We saw a whole wide canvas that you had painted for us. Obviously, those have stimulated and require us to double click on some of those points that you made. But before we get there, I think I want to take this opportunity to really extend a heartfelt thanks to you for making this special trip to be with us today, and then be a part of the showcase. Ladies and gentlemen, Tawan was very busy in his schedule in the midst of his business travels and has made a special trip specifically to be with us and grace the occasion today and highlight the showcase. So again, after this event, he has to immediately get back to his business travels. So really appreciate Tawan to be part of us and ensure that you're able to bring out and highlight all the best parts of the showcase. Thank you very
You're welcome,
much.
Benki. And actually, I hope actually this also proves something, that the connectivity is so good, you can really imagine being somewhere else in Asia, pop back in to do something and go back out again. And that is the kind of dream we're hoping to build with Changi Airport.
Indeed, it's a living example. So great, thanks for that. So based on this presentation that you made, we will presently get started with a conversation. But before Tawan and I dive into the conversation, I would like to say that at the end of this conversation, we will have a Q&A, a question and answer session. So please use the QR codes to post your questions, and Tawan and I would be happy to address them. So let's get started. So Tawan, you mentioned quite a few things in this presentation. Obviously, Changi Airport being one of the best airports in the world for many years running is a matter of pride for all of us, a source of pride for all of us. You also mentioned about the concept of one air hub. Obviously, we've seen that Changi Airport has played a pivotal role in actually being the magnet in the region as a mobilization effect for trade, investment, capital, and people mobility. That has itself enabled the economies of the region, both in Singapore and beyond in ASEAN, really chug along well. Would like to actually understand how this actually connects to the idea of one air hub and the theme of the conference that we have today, which is basically reshaping the global supply chain pathways.
Thank you, Venki. I think it's one important thing is Changi Airport Group, the company running Changi, we can't claim credit for what you see. Every day we serve 200,000 passengers. There are 60,000 people working at the airport. Changi Airport Group is only 2,000 people. That's all we have. So clearly, our success in serving everyone here doesn't come from us. It comes from close partnership and collaboration with everyone. And I must say, it's a wonder. Actually, I didn't even realize this until I joined Changi Airport, how collaborative we all are. There's no sense of raw competition. In many other industries that I previously have been in, there will be questions about what's in it for me versus you. We see, absolutely wonderful collaboration. And as an example, just again to pay homage to ICA, in most places, government authorities do not subject themselves to airports training, but we do make our immigration officers attend our frontline training that we give to all frontline staff at the airport. It's called quality service management. And there's always this one thing I remember. Early on, I did not understand why we always have a budget item for sweets. The airport pays for sweets, Fox sweets, that we place in a
Yes,
little bowl at every immigration counter.
counter.
It's gone the way of the dodo now because, now there are no counters, everybody just uses the gates. But we used to do that. And what is the purpose of the sweet? We felt that if we could get every immigration officer to ask if you would like a sweet, good morning, would you like a sweet? It automatically makes the immigration officer smile. It makes the entire situation less tense and stressful because there's just no other way to ask, would you like a sweet? Other than by smiling, right? Other than by being lighthearted, other than creating a nice, welcoming atmosphere that we felt was very important and different to many other places where sometimes you don't know whether they really welcome you into the country. But so this was something that we managed to do. And really, we could do this only because everyone in Changi Airport was so invested in our collective success. And this also applies to the ground handlers. This applies to our cargo handlers in the north of the airport. Again, many of them don't work for us. You don't even have necessarily a commercial relationship with them. But we're all invested in the success of the Air Hub together. So, for example, I think earlier this year we all came together to create queuing system for trucks to book slots at our various docking bays so that there's no long queue of trucks just trying to unload or load up on their cargo. So these are things that as a community we just do together, and we've been really proud to be part of that and to continue encouraging that.
Indeed, that's very impressive. It was also very noteworthy in your presentation to note that there were glimpses of the entire evolution of the Changi Airport, starting with the inaugural in the early 80s with Terminal 1. We've seen the continuous and rapid expansion across Terminal 2, T3, T4, of course, Jewel being the latest addition, Jewel in the crown, so to speak. Of course, with all of that, we've also had, as a banker, a ringside view of the evolution of the Changi Airport across multiple terminals. We've had the benefit of actually collaborating with you, for example, in the case of the Jewel project, as being one of your bankers in this particular initiative. Likewise, we were also working with many of your contractors and suppliers who were executing on the Jewel project. It was obviously interesting for us to have that ringside view about how this evolution has taken place. As this receives into the rear view and we look forward to Terminal 5, you already mentioned some of the highlights, but really would like to understand a little bit more about what was the genesis of the evolution of T5. What were the trigger points, the key points that actually impelled you to then take this quantum leap into this ambitious T5 project?
Thanks, Venki. Yes, T5 is an ambitious project. It's very large. It's taken a long time. It will take a few more years before we can complete it. But actually, for us, it was never a question of risk. It wasn't a question of if. It was merely a question of when. Because for us, it was very clear. I think you saw earlier one of my charts. We look at that line, the gap between the capacity of the airport and the traffic of the airport. We watch that all the time. And our job is to make sure we constantly stay just that one step ahead. Not two steps ahead, because then the Ministry of Finance will ask why we are spending all this money so early, but just one step ahead so that businesses, customers, investors, passengers will always be reassured that there will be capacity, there will be the capacity to support their growth, their ambitions, what they want to do. I hope it's not a coincidence that Unilever has their global HQ here, because and I hope you can show your boss that chart. We will have the capacity to support every business's intended growth in Singapore and in ASEAN for the decades to come. So for us, when we started, actually we started work on T5 in 2012. This was a long time ago. We saw the trends, we knew it was coming. We started working with the government agencies to prepare the land. It's not obvious to many people. I myself also learned this while on the project. Even just getting the infrastructure, the utilities, the cabling laid takes a lot of effort. During COVID, when we had a slowdown nationwide on construction, there were tunnel boring machines tunneling, ceaselessly 24/7 underneath the airport, taking advantage of the fact that there were no flights, and we completed many of the tunnels we needed for T5 already. Right, they're all sitting there waiting for us to activate it, and we did that while it was very safe to do so. Right, there's no fears of any collapse or any problems because the airport was quite slow during COVID. So these are the kind of long-term thinking that we have put in place. And for us, it was never a question of financial risk or is that the right thing to do or not. It was very clear to us as the airport grew, as the country grew, as ASEAN grows, and the businesses around us need that capacity. We are ready to serve.
Superb. I think another interesting aspect of what you were sharing earlier was about the role of the stakeholders and the partners. Uh, Obviously, there have been a full wide range that was listed up there. We saw the airline, we saw the logistics provider, we saw the government sector. We also saw a whole long list of your engineering partners.
Mm.
We've also had the opportunity to work with many of them, whether it is the logistics player who had complex requirements with respect to managing high value imports, or some of the partners who required multi year commitment from their
Mhm.
financial service providers, which we were happy to do that.
Mm.
Of course, UOB itself has been on the other side as your stakeholder, as we have
Mm.
our retail banking business operations in the terminals at Changi Airport. Obviously, to understand how, as a top-notch institution, you at Changi Airport Group are able to then permeate this high standard, this vision across your ecosystem to drive the kind of right outcomes to ensure that all of the stakeholders succeed together, and then ensure that the ambition to be the best airport and continue to be the best airport in the world continues. And what is the secret sauce or the ingredient that you have that helps you to achieve this conducive environment?
Um, Not any secret sauce, actually. I think if you have heard the last 20 minutes or so, it comes back down to a focus on that ring, making sure we have capacity, delivering a great experience for our airlines, passengers, ensuring, of course, we do so efficiently with enough financial surplus to reinvest. But the other, of course, big theme is always we make sure we succeed with our partners. Right? It's very clear to us we can't be successful without partners, and therefore it's also almost a corollary that when our partners succeed, we succeed as well. So a lot of times when we engage with our stakeholders, when we engage with partners, airlines, other businesses, it is always from a win-win perspective. It is always how we can help you. I don't deny we are a tough landlord. We do demand, stiff terms in order to be, somebody has to pay for all those, beautiful buildings, right? But we are always doing so, acknowledging that it's a win-win, right? So as I shared earlier, when we saw that some of our concessionaires were struggling with the retail slowdown, I think we actually actively reset some of the contract terms. So there's more sustainable because there, I think you saw earlier, we only want to make money one way, which is when we have happy passengers, when we have businesses growing with us. We don't want to make it from our contractors. We don't want to make money from our vendors. That's not the right way to do things. And so even, for example, when we're talking about the supply chain financing, it was very clear to us we want to do it in a way that best gets capital to our vendors. And we didn't think about what does it mean for us.
Indeed. Maybe I can augment some of that. We have been working very closely with you and your team over the last year and a half to come up with this industry leading proposition.
Mhm.
Uh, it has actually ensured that we are able to listen to you first in terms of what are your key concerns.
Mhm.
And as the CFO of such a best in class institution, how you prepare to take on this ambitious T5 project and how you wanted to support your suppliers, your ecosystem of contractors. And in that context, I think the solution of supply chain finance was something that we co-solutioned along with you and your team. And I have to actually take this opportunity to say that Changi Airport Group was very particular that they wanted to do all the heavy lifting when it came to putting up this solution together. They did not want this to be pushed into the domain of their suppliers and their partners and the contractors. So what they did, they actually built rails with specific requirements that is needed for this particular sector, host to host with us, and that enables the suppliers and the contractors to avail this financing right from the earliest stage of when they need funding all the way till the final stage, and ensures that the full asset conversion cycle is supported. And for that, kudos to you and your team to actually share with us the detailed processes so that we can mirror them in the solution that we came about. And therefore, this unique solution, which is industry leading, hopefully will ensure that it takes care of the requirements of all the contractors and suppliers, and hopefully the TFI and the subsequent expansions will be taken care of and well delivered.
Mm. Thank you, Venki. Yeah, I think it's, again, I hope you can see that this is part of our long-standing philosophy of making sure our partners succeed. So I've been working on T5 for actually quite a long time as well. And in the earlier days, we knew quite obviously for us to hit all our ambitious scheduling targets, cost targets, we have to help our industry succeed. So even 10 years ago, we started to build aggregate landing sites so it's easier for our contractors to bring in raw materials from outside of Singapore. As you saw earlier, we built the 12,000 bed dorm. We're going to expand that as well to even more beds to accommodate all the resources, the humans, the workers we need to complete the project. And then after we resolved a lot of our funding issues internally and with the government, we started realizing, wait, our partners need capital as well. Our partners need liquidity as well to get the job done for us. And so we started discussing with UOB to think about how do we get liquidity out to the market. And we wanted to do it in a way that doesn't get us involved. So in many other places, this would be called factoring, right? Where we will try to get a discount from the vendors in exchange for paying early. We didn't do any of that. We didn't change any of the payment timelines. All we wanted was for a bank to provide good liquidity to our contractors so that they can get the job done on time for us, right? So that was a very simple thing. We will succeed when our partners succeeded. And so it was very clear right at the start when we discussed with Lei Hua, Venki, and her team, that was all we wanted to do. Keep the cost low, keep it easy. We want to keep also it frictionless. So as Venki mentioned, our teams spend a lot of time connecting things together at the system level so that as far as possible, it's transparent to our contractors. You even have a choice of funding or financing this invoice versus that invoice, this contract versus that. So there's full flexibility for our partners to choose what they need, when they need it. And just as a joke, the costs are so low, I can't say them here publicly, but the costs are so low, our former CFO asked, could she borrow against that? So that's just to give you a sense, right? That is what we were working towards to make sure that our partners can succeed and have no liquidity issues.
Thanks, Savan. On a lighter note, obviously, every time we were making visits to your office, obviously, we were preparing ourselves for a lot of intense conversations that you and your team demanded while we were co-solutioning. But as soon as we hit the ECP and the vehicle shifted to a higher gear, the mood kind of lightened. There was a sense of anticipation and elation. And we realized that it basically was the recollection, the subliminal association of going to the airport with various travels and holidays that we have undertaken. Again, referring back to the Changi fragrance that we are all experiencing in today, I think it's a testimony to the fact that how that multisensory user experience across multiple dimensions is at the heart of how you engage with your stakeholders, and that has really delineated and provided with an opportunity for all of us to continue to keep this flag flying high. So thanks a lot for that. I think we are on cue to now open up the floor to question and answers from the audience. And then please use the QR code to share. And then we will be able to take some of the questions that has been posted here. Okay, we have this first question on ESG. How does Changi Airport Group look at this concept of ESG, and what are the key initiatives that CAG is adopting and embracing to ensure that the key ESG goals are met from your side?
Hmm, Thank you. Yeah, ESG is really quite essential to us. And I think earlier you've heard some examples already, for example, where we take care of everyone, right? Including our contractors, workers as well. So in terms of social objectives, also of course including making sure that the airport remains an accessible workplace for all. We provide a lot of training, and our partners do that as well. So that takes care of the social aspects. Environmental is something that I think the aviation industry inherently has a disadvantage. It is a big emitter of carbon. There are also not many good pathways to net zero, but we do what we can, right? So already 50% of the airport's energy consumption is on chilling. So every time we replace the chillers, we get the latest generation, much more efficient chillers. We also blanket every available square inch of our roofs with solar panels. And in fact, some of the things we're exploring right now, I think everyone knows, right? An airport is very large and open, lots of greenery, lots of open field. We are even thinking of placing solar panels on those fields, subject to safety considerations, of course. But we do want to generate as much clean energy as we can on site. And we've, of course, used the latest in AI and building management systems to adjust the cooling load. So it does get a little bit warmer in the terminals. I don't know whether any of you noticed that. But the net result of all this is that last year we served 68.4 million passengers. That's exactly the same as what we did in 2019. But we only used 90% of the energy. So 10% less energy last year than 2019, despite serving the same passenger load. So that, I think, is a little bit of a good validation of the efforts and investments we have put in, and we're going to continue trying to do that in the decades to come to make sure we get to our, I think we are still gunning for net zero by 2050, and that's a target. I think we can achieve it as long as we make steady progress.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing on the ESG agenda, Tavan. This is another very interesting question, very similar to what you just now mentioned. Amazing journey and congrats once again. I just landed at T2 from Bangkok this afternoon, and the experience was seamless with passportless gates that took me less than 10 seconds to clear. Truly
Tell my HR
impressive.
that again.
Haven't seen anything quite like it elsewhere yet, though I'm sure others will be catching up soon. Curious to know what's next after T5.
I don't know. I think physically, I think there we will run up to the limits. There's just no more space for a T6. But after T5, it's T1, 2, 3 again, right? Don't forget, T1 is 44 years old. We aim for it to be 100 years old and still be relevant, right? We're not limited by the building. We're limited by what we think we can put inside, what we do with it, how we have the processes. The 10 seconds through the passport journey, you can do it in a 100-year-old building, right? So the key thing for us is always how do we keep our operations, our facilities, our infrastructure fresh, relevant, useful to the needs of our passengers, for businesses as well, and that will be our challenge. So, Frank, maybe in a way that's also good, right? T5 may be the last physical expansion that we'll ever do, and after that, we will focus on digitalization, we'll focus on experience, we'll focus on efficiency, we'll focus on the soft things that make us a great airport, and not just be wedded to infrastructure.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Tavan. We are just right on the queue, and we've actually completed our conversation, our
Thank you,
discussion,
Venki.
and able to also take up a few questions. So thanks a lot for that. We want to take this opportunity to thank you for sharing some of these thoughts, your very interesting perspectives, and your unique lens from the role of the CFO of the Changi Airport Group that has highlighted so many other points in the showcase. So thanks a lot for that.
Thank you, Venki.